2 rules. Beat the Wind Waker and don't press A. This is going to be extremely difficult and we will have many obstacles in our way, but maybe, just maybe, we can do it. We turn on the game and luckily all we need to do to start is press any button. Now we have to... Oh no. We have to choose what controller we're using with the A button. Already? It's over like that? Wait a minute. An idea popped up in my head. You see, I was using the Pro controller. We're not going to use that anymore. You see, if we use the gamepad, yes, the gamepad, we can use it to simply touch the option and move forward. Well, I'm using the gamepad right now to tap, and even though I press on the gamepad, because I chose the Pro controller, the keyboard shows on screen. The only way to use a TV keyboard is by pressing A, and I'm not gonna do that, so I went back. This means that we're forced to play on the gamepad, which means I'll constantly be charging and charging and charging while playing, but whatever, we do it for the content, right? Skip the lengthy intro, and now we're in the game. Wow, Ariel has some really nice clothes. I wonder where she got those from. Immediately we're hit with a dilemma, dialogue. The game wants you to press A and continue on, but no, we can't do that. And thankfully, the developers thought of us when making this game, because we can simply press B instead of A to skip past dialogue. Now that we're free, we still aren't. We've lost the ability to roll, so we're forced to slowly walk to Grandma's house. Because this is one of those reset files after beating the game, we still have our old camera, but unfortunately, we can't take any photos with it. I made it to Grandma's house, and... this is it. Thank you all for watching. There's absolutely no way to move on from this point without pressing A. At this point, I was like, nah, it's wraps. And I gave up on the challenge. I sought out for something greater and actually possible, but a couple minutes spent in a high school library, I made a beautiful thumbnail, so I couldn't just let that opportunity go to waste. Look at this thumbnail. It's so beautiful. I had to make this video. So because there's nothing we can do but press A, the initial prompt changes. The question is no longer, can you beat Wind Waker without pressing A, but how many times do you have to press A to beat it? So we start a counter, and we press A whenever 100% necessary. I'm Axerson, and this is one of the most patient-inducing challenges I've ever done. Let's go. I entered Grandma's house and climbed the ladder. Luckily, she starts yapping without the need of the A button, and we can move on. Well, actually, we can't move on. Hold on. There are 2 options to get outside of the house. We can 1, press A and open the door, or we can 2, save and quit and then reload the game to respawn outside. And it's obvious which one I chose. Speaking with Ariel, we see a girl fall into the woods, and our sister persuades Mr. Hero to step in. We need to practice the art of the sword, and in order to do so, we have to press A. Again. Already 2 times. Inside, we have to... okay. We have to press A. Again. Alright. Hopefully there are no more A's, right? Let's get to training. And... Bro, I just pressed A to talk to you. Now I have to press A to choose to practice. We train the art of the sword, and... bro, I have to press A again. Oh my... How many times do I have to press A in this video? Luckily, after this, nothing needs the use of the A button. Press A to read this sign? I don't think so. Tetra claims we need a shield before we can board the ship. So to make her happy, we have to once again press A. And no, that's not it. Speak to Tetra, make a decision, open a door, let go of the rope 4 times, because we can't press B for some reason, and open a chest. Now inside Forsaken Fortress, this is where things get interesting, and also where things become difficult. To press A the least amount of times, we must limit what goods we can snag and what people to take down. When the lights find you, you're caught and put into jail and can't get out, and you'd have to press A, which we cannot do. So, with that in mind, we have to eliminate the possibility of getting caught, and that sucks because right here there's a light being shown at the wall, and we're gonna sidle there later, which is also with the use of A. So, we're forced to pick up a stick, swing the guy a couple times until he drops, open a couple doors, and sidle across some walls. At the end of all this, we score a new record of 33 presses on the A button. Keep in mind, we couldn't get the dungeon map or compass because we can't open any unnecessary chests, and we couldn't hide in barrels because those require the use of the A button as well. Windfall Island. We need to find a sale to get moving, and because we have no rupees, we need it at a discount. Either way, we need Tingle Free to decipher the Triforce Shards later, so we press A to open the door. Talk to the clerk, say yes to the sale, and we're ready to go. The King of Red Lions yaps on, and at the very end he asks us, "Did you get all that?" Causing us to press A once more. It's time to hop onto the boat and oh, make it stop, please. I tried endlessly to make it on without climbing, but it's just not possible, so we have to press A to get onto the boat. Let's just get out of here. Wait a minute. Press A to sail? Okay, nope, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. In order to avoid pressing A, we have to cruise all around the map. And because I'm absolutely insane, I spent a good 5 minutes cruising to Roost Island. And do you know what that means? That means I will be spending hours upon hours cruising to get to places. Alright, but back to Roost Island. I conducted the Wind Waker, and luckily it doesn't require the A button, but what does is what we do next. We have to gain altitude in order to get to the Rito Cavern, and typically you'd explode each rock individually, then sidle, then blow up another rock, and that would require the use of A about 6 times. We don't want that. We need the least amount possible. So because of this, I looked up a Wind Waker speedrun and found out how they got around this. You can side hop onto this small rock and then jump again and hang onto the cliff. After that, you can roll and jump to the other side. And yes, you have to roll or you won't make it. So, technically speaking, this trick only takes 3 A presses, which is half the number that it takes normally. And now that I think about it, it's the same amount of A presses to just bomb the rock, but whatever, I guess I did a cool roll and a jump. Speak to Medley, open Kamali's door, go back outside Kamali's door, speak to Medley again, choose to help her or not, pick up Medley, throw Medley. You know what? Why don't we just skip all the forced A presses and just talk about the ones we avoid? Sounds good? Cool. The first one is the use of pots or rocks to explode the bomb in order to break the rock. We can just spin attack instead and make the bomb blow up. You know, now that I think about it, was this the intended way? The next part is outside in front of this lava hole. Usually you'd sidle and hang onto the wall, but we can actually just jump past this. Oh, whoops. Wrong footage. Hold on. You can actually just jump past this obstacle. After this, you're forced to pick up a bomb, but you're not forced to toss it. You know what? Maybe I should have. In the room with the lava elevator, I tried my best to fight this fire bug without pressing A, but it kept going back in the lava and surviving. Does this thing take no damage? It was very annoying. But do you know what you should do when something or someone is bugging you? You completely ignore it and act like it doesn't exist. The last puzzle room of the dungeon has the big key, and to get it, you'd usually fight a fire bug, pick it up by pressing A, and then place it at the pressure plate to stop the fire around the chest. Then open the chest and receive the key. But we're not doing that. To avoid pressing A, you can actually drive yourself mentally insane as you spend 10 minutes trying to coordinate the firebug into rolling and stopping right above the pressure plate. Yeah, that's time spent I will never get back. Now that we're all done with that, there is one last thing to help us press A less. Instead of heading back via opening doors and backtracking, earlier I pressed A once to pick up a bomb and opened up the use of this magic pot. We can simply save our game, load out, load back in, and make it to the first pot. Hop inside, and we just saved ourselves like 10 A presses or something. The boss fight doesn't require the use of A, and now that we're done, I'm just gonna tell you the number of times I pressed A, because, you know, I'm not gonna write them all down, dude. Come on, that's too much work. We currently stand at 96 A presses at the end of the first dungeon. That's That's all forced. This is gonna be horrible. To get sailing, the boat demands that we make the wind go south, and unfortunately, we have to press A to confirm direction. After this, we have to enter the boat, and while I tried my very best to not have to climb in to get there, it is impossible. Can we just fast forward a bit? Yeah, thank you. Alright, we're here. Inside, the Great Deku Tree gets slathered in slime, and the only way to get the slime off his face is to roll. After getting the leaf, you'd think I'd change the wind direction to make the first jump easier, but nope. We don't have to. Unfortunately, for the last one, you do have to. If you look at it, I almost fall immediately. But what's nice about this is that the wind direction change here is literally perfect. It's entirely useful later on, and it is the last wind change for the rest of the game. And guess what? To make it all the better, it's actually the 100th A button press, and it was absolutely worth it. The Forbidden Woods has absolutely nothing significant at all, and we can't avoid using A at any moments. So that adds 38 presses, leaving us at 138. And now that we have the leaf, we finally don't have to climb the boat, and now we can sail to the Great Fish Isles.
A few moments later.
Great. We're here. Great. Jabun's gone. And once we were done with the dialogue, there was no way to avoid climbing the boat. At least, that's what I thought. Right over here, there's a little tiny island that we can jump off of, and the wind direction is actually pointing right to the boat. So, we had to glide from there to the boat, but we had no energy. So 5 times I reloaded the game just to wait for RNG to finally not be stupid and give me what I needed. I saved the game just in case and glided from there to the boat, and I missed. The second time, I jumped just a spot lower, and that way it was way easier to be more precise. Alright, it's time to set sail. Again, even though we don't set sail, we just cruise. Once at Windfall, we have to sneak into the bomb shop to hear the pirate password. Instead of sidling and pressing A, all I had to do was glide. To enter the ship, I wanted to skip using the password and opening the door, because it requires 2 A inputs. But the only skips I found online required more A inputs than actually doing it normally, so I just stuck to what I was good at. Now for the rope course, I tried to find the best way to navigate, since the only way to let go of the rope is to press A. I came up with something like this, but it's still a few presses of the A button, which kinda sucks. I got the bombs, hopped back on my boat, and set sail to Outset. When I arrived, I realized I'm never going to be able to get Grandma's soup. She's locked behind a door, and I'd have to press A to enter. So because of that, I decided to check and see if I could do anything else on the island. The wind was blowing in a different direction, but it was still possible to jump and glide over into the woods. Luckily, the Great Ferry hidden in this location was enclosed under a bombable rock, and didn't require the use of A whatsoever. Back on the boat, we sail behind Outset while we cruise, and while it says press A to fire, you can actually just press the bomb button of either Y, X, or R. Jabun gave me the pearl for free, and now it's time to sail for an hour to 3 identical islands. Now for the Tower of the Gods. There are finally A presses that we can actually skip with quite a bit of difficulty. The first one is actually as soon as we start. We arrive at a door with a pressure plate by its side. That is the key to unlocking the door. Usually, you'd pick up the Armos statue and place it there, but as usual, we can't do that. I stare the Armos down while I think about what to do. And then it hits me. I can stand on the pressure plate and make it work, meaning that other objects can too, right? There are pots on the side, and because they're lightweight, I can blow them with my leaf. So I do, and after 2 minutes, I blow it right on top of the pressure plate. Inside the room, there are 2 tiny crates, and we have to move them onto a pressure plate. Didn't we just do this? I slowly moved it very thoroughly and very carefully, and after 1 minute and 30 seconds, it was finally in place. The next door has 2 pressure plates and no pots this time, so I had to pick up one, but I used myself to activate the other. Inside this room, I'd have to press A to move any of the crates below, so instead, I had to try and navigate on what I was given. Let's just say, you should be happy that I'm not commentating over live footage, because this took about 30 attempts until finally getting it right. Break the pots, grab the stick, light it, wait for the water to rise, then jump to the first, onto the second, then go to the rightmost point of the crate but don't fall off, and then jump diagonally onto the next, and then, on the very last jump, pray that you'll make it. After getting the key, I logged out to avoid pressing A again, and then I bombed the walls with the bomb button. Killed these guys, grabbed the thingy, and we're set. Now that we're here, we're forced to press A a lot, so let's just move on. Once we make it to the middle boss fight, we're actually kind of in a pickle. We can't use A to slide behind him and cut his armor off, so I spent a minute or two trying my best to get behind him. It got to the point where I realized what to do, and it's actually quite risky. Once his armor was off, it was wraps for him. When I got through the third door, I really had to be patient. Instead of grabbing and throwing the statues on the balance thingy, I had to lift them up, fall with them, and climb back up. Once I arrived onto the third floor? The second floor? Whatever. I broke all the pots and saw that we needed to use pressure plates, so I dropped back down again, and then I went back up. I blew and I blew, but that didn't work. So I slowly pushed the pot onto the pressure plate. Now that's about it for the Tower of the Gods.
And that leaves us with a total of 189 presses of the A button, meaning 44 presses were just in the Tower of the Gods.
I actually immediately recorded a file for this next part, so let's just listen to what Past Me had to say.
I just want to talk about this because I am so exhausted of what I've just gone through. Okay, listen, to get the Master Sword, you have to do this puzzle thing and you have to press A like more than 3 times, right? There's 3 triangles, but you have to press A probably 7 times, I'd say. So instead of that, I looked up glitches to see if I could get through without having to press A that many times. And so Son of a Glitch has this video and it works. You can do it, right? And so I spent an entire hour trying to do a glitch and I ultimately failed. Okay, right? The beginning part was difficult, but I did it so many times that I finally somewhat got it down at the end. And so I kept on doing it and kept on doing it right, but I never aligned myself correctly. I always went back in bounds when trying to fall so that I could not glide, but so that I could leap over into the loading zone, and it never worked. And because of that entire hour that I spent doing absolutely nothing technically, I am going to count that as just pressing A once, okay? I do not care. Technically speaking, to beat the game, you only need to press A once in this area. So no, don't even go in the comments and be like, oh, nah, you didn't do it, so it doesn't count. No, I do not care. I wasted too much time doing this garbage. All right, to the next thing.
Now that we're done with that mess, it's time to revisit the Forsaken Fortress. I set sail, I cruise for about 16 minutes, and then I arrived. The first thing to do is fight Phantom Ganon. To deflect his attack, simply press B. Once the fight was over, I had to press A to open this chest and receive a new item. After this, there was almost no more A touching. This time, I had a plan, and that plan required the use of no doors. I was easily able to get to each light setup and kill the bokoblins without pressing A. The hard part now was deciding where to go and how to reach the end. Instead of going through the doors, I killed mini blins for energy and thought to glide over to this area. After I realized this road leads nowhere, I ran back and found out what to actually do. I needed to head up the building to the easily reachable outpost, climb its ladder, and then jump down to the right wall, just slightly more elevated from the walkway that we used to get up there. From there, I'd walk to the ladder on this side and climb up. Then, because of the perfect direction that the wind is facing, I could float down here with not too bad of a resistance, and then jump off this ledge to the floor connected to the last outpost. Pretty wordy when I say it out loud, but it's quite simple. From here, I could glide to this floating ladder, climb up again, and yeah, then we were in a pickle. Because of the wind, it's kind of impossible to jump this gap, and I tried many ways, but unfortunately, nothing worked. I had to press A just this once, but hey, I'm over it. Luckily, the next gap we can jump over because of the wind direction, and now it is time for the boss fight. The only time we press A is when we open the doors. Next! Now that Zelda's hidden inside the castle, we need to get to the 2 dungeons on the top and bottom of the map. But to get to those, we need fire and ice arrows in order to go through 2 opposite islands and receive the power to lift heavy stuff and the power to stay still in strong wind. To enter the mother and child isles, we need the teleportation ability, which we already got without pressing B, but unfortunately, we have to press A twice to enter the isle and exit. But luckily,
that meant I could warp wherever I wanted afterwards, and it felt so good to get a break for once. Each island and its item cost me a press of the A button, and you have to press A at the Earth Temple to get this rock out of the way. At the Wind Temple, and yes, I went here so I wouldn't have to backtrack since I'm getting medley, I couldn't get back onto the boat. It was impossible to climb anything and float, so I just went around for a swim, and I learned a new trick. If you just recently stumbled onto an island, you could drown and respawn right on your boat, even if you went inside for a little bit. This means every single fairy island was now possible and open for my exploration, so you know I went crazy. Man, I cannot tell you how many hours I've wasted on this game just cruising around. When I arrived at Roost Island, I knew there'd be an easy way to get to medley without pressing A. You can just grapple onto this stick in the wall and jump off to the ledge. After that, walk on up, grapple again, and there she is. Ah, medley. You have no idea what kind of ride you're in for.
2,000 years later.
Many nights have passed, but now it is finally time to step foot on land, or should I say, Earth. I play the Earth God lyric and break the seal, and the very first task the game gives me is having to press A to pick up and fly with medley above me. Once that's over, the next room, oh man. The next room is hell. We have to pick up medley and glide across with her to the first platform, and then medley has to fly by repeatedly pressing A to flap her wings. With many attempts, I found that flying on a flat plane is not ideal, and that actually starting her from these steps is better. It gives us a count of 12 A presses instead of 17 from straight across. Still though, it's a ton of A presses, and I was not excited for the rest of this. When you enter the next room, you're forced to pick up medley because if you don't, she'll stay behind even when following you because of the cutscene locking the door. Now luckily, there is a giant light shining into the middle of the room, and you can politely reflect the light onto the choo-choos by having medley look in the opposite direction of them.
Now instead of picking them up and throwing them, I smashed them with my hammer, and apparently my hammer is strong enough to destroy stone.
For this big area, we need medley to look in the opposite direction again so she doesn't press A, and I tried my best to make it work, and it did. Okay, medley, we're both going through the door without me picking you up, okay? Okay? Okay, good, she did it. Press A to pull a cube, use medley once again to reflect backwards, and open the chest. The next room requires 2 pressure plates, or like button thingies, to be weighed on, so I had to use one of the choo-choos, and I had to use medley, which kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. You know, it didn't let me float to the ledge, so whatever. Now after getting up here, I thought that was it, but no. I have to 1, push this cube, and 2, toss medley twice because the only other way she gets up there is by flapping. In the next room, I push this cube and a light appears, and I didn't want to use A, but medley couldn't stay in one spot, so I had to. Using this, I actually learned that it doesn't matter what direction you press A in, because medley will slowly look in any direction, just very slowly. I realize I'm yapping a bit, so let's just talk about the basement. Once we made it down here, there was an idea in my head to use the boss key skip glitch, but it was so precise I didn't even want to attempt it. I went down like a good civilian, and
oh hell no!
The first thing to do requires 7 A button presses. After this, I had to push and pull a bunch of mirrors, make medley press A so I could reflect the light, and then press A to open the way to the boss key. Yikes. Now it's actually time to get to the boss fight, and medley has to fly back up. 17 A presses. I think. I don't actually remember. I should have put a counter on the screen during the actual footage, but I didn't think about it and I just used an online counter on my phone.
Once the temple was over, I looked over at my phone and had seen that the dungeon took 108 presses to beat. Yeah. Let's just move on.
I spent 20 minutes cruising to the Wind Temple, and I had forgotten that I already got the song. I logged out and logged back in without saving, and I respawned at the Earth Temple.
Editing extras in here. Just wanted to show off this pretty cool trick I did to get onto the boat without pressing A, you know. Just took a little bit of effort, so I wanted to show it off.
I arrived at the Forest Haven, swung into the waterfall, and bro, really? You couldn't just have an automatic cutscene like medley? I had to talk to you? whatever. He awakens as a sage, and now it is time for a long journey. All right. Here we are at the Wind Temple, and hopefully this goes better than the Earth. Honestly, we were off to a great start. I accidentally planted a tree though, because I thought it was necessary, but it wasn't, so just ignore this. The first room doesn't require any A presses except the entering of the doors. The second room requires Makar to plant 2 trees, which kind of sucks, but what's worse is what happens after. In this room, Makar is not only supposed to plant 3 trees, he's also supposed to fly to each one. Instead of this, I had him fly to the first one and then the last, which added 14 presses to the count. He gets abducted, and now we're on our own. Do the usual things, and the only A presses are the doors, so that's nice. Now for this room, we need to get a key because the other room with the hookshot is locked. Instead of moving these cubes as you would normally by pressing A 4 times, I instead pulled this jump cube right next to where it should have been, so I just used A once. Then, the second one I pulled to the right once, just to get it aligned. Maybe it was possible without this, but it didn't cut it when I tried. Now that we have this setup, it took 2 tries before I got it down, and when the cube is about to launch you up, you can just hold forward and fly through the hole. Skipping to after we save Makar, my car, we have to bring him back to his place of abduction. He has to press A 14 times again to get back up, and he has to plant just 1 more tree for me to use. He follows me past this door, and we basically have to do it again. This room has more tree spots and is bigger than the last, but to save on A presses, I skipped the tree on the right and tried my best not to float around. At this point, we're probably at 70 A presses. Now, in the room with the boss key, I had to fight 3 armored people without pressing A. These guys had me stressing out here, trying not to die, while simultaneously waiting for the slightest chance to knock one's armor off. In around 5 minutes, they all, one by one, got their armor taken off, and from there, it was history. Now that we had the boss key, I really tried to finish the game without Makar, but I never got the timing or angles right for this leaf skip. Because of this, I went and got Makar, made him press A 8 times, and move forward. Now here is when I became an illegal immigrant. I became a big brain hacker, a glitch creator, a glitch connoisseur, you name it. Listen, instead of bringing Makar through the wind with me, I left him behind and didn't press A once. It was kind of difficult because this thing kept hitting me, but I made it through. Now at this big barrier, I saw a skip from the Son of the Glitch series, and I thought I could give it a shot. It was actually really easy, so I'd like to include this skip in the final scoring. All I had to do was sidle on the right side of the barrier and casually walk in. On the glitch showcase, he said to roll until you make it inside, but that takes A presses, and we're not doing that. So that is it for the Wind Temple. The Wind Temple in total took 107 presses. That's almost equivalent to the Earth Temple. And the Earth Temple literally uses a bird that flies with the A button. Think about that. It's been a while. Since I started this run, I've played this game for 15 hours. And now it's time to begin a different journey. We must cruise around the map for 3 hours getting Triforce Shards. Leaving the Wind Temple, we can finally hookshot onto the boat and make it on without the use of A. Now initially, I went to Windfall Island to check the post box and get the Incredible Shard, but I realized I didn't actually need it, and that means I will never get my mail. I parked my boat in the same spot we spawned back in the beginning, and look at how easy it is to hop on the boat with a hookshot. If only we had this in the beginning of the game, you know, like that would have been so much better. I got cruising and I arrived at this island. I don't actually know the names of these things because I can't buy any bait and I can't get the fish to paint my map. I hookshot a couple trees to get inside, and there are no skippable A presses. There are just 6 doors and I have to get through 4 of them twice. Also, I have to press A to open the chest. Many minutes later, I arrived at the island where you typically use a Hayoi pair to control a bird, or seagull, that touches each diamond that unlocks the gate. But to avoid pressing A by buying things, I grappled a stick through a wall and glitched my way in. Don't worry, I'm not a pro or anything, so I had many failed attempts, and you know, I'm not just some like hacker dude that's like making fun of this game. I don't know. After that glitch, I decided to go insane and try another at the cabana, but it wasn't possible. For me, at least. I don't know. His instructions were to do only a few inputs, and the hookshot never went off, so I could never actually do it. Whatever. I thought to do the cabana one later, so I went to Outset Island and did the Savage Labyrinth. Labyrinth? Whatever. I had to press A to lift up this rock, but after that, the only A press was opening the Triforce piece. I'd talk about fighting the monsters, but it wasn't really difficult. It was just time consuming. Since that was done, I headed to this tiny outpost where hidden inside is a Triforce Shard and also another A press. After that, These ships are out in the middle of nowhere, so I started bombing them, and I got another Triforce chart using the grapple button and not the A button, obviously. Stonewatcher Island is next, and oh, it's the same thing as the first one. 11 presses. Another since there was a rock above the hole. Diamond Step Island. I carefully navigated through and got the ghost ship chart, which, yes, you need if you're planning on entering the ghost ship. So, one more A press. Something really interesting that happened was that night, I was cruising to the east to get to the other islands, right? And dude, I checked the map, I was like, where's the ghost ship? And boom, it was right in the island that I was just at, the Diamond Step Island. So I had to go back and I was like, please, wait. And like this ship was going really slow, but I was going slower. So like I didn't expect to make it in time, and it was almost daytime, but I did make it. One more A press. I wake back up on the boat and started course for Windfall. And man, getting the cabana sucks. Open the door, speak again, choose we need to talk, choose yes ma'am, and then talk to the boy, take them on in a hide and seek battle, and then roll into a tree. Round up all the kids, receive a piece of heart, go back in the classroom, speak again, choose we need to talk, and once she's done yapping, leave through the door, find the kids a birthday gift for the teacher by rolling into a tree again, and then finally go inside the classroom as the last A button press. Just give her the joy pendant, then give her 20 more, and you receive the cabana. We get back to the cabana and press A to open the door. Inside, we go inside the fireplace to a secret hole leading to the sewers. From there, we have to drop down via the ladders because it's impossible to just fall in. Once I got to the last hole, there was a little issue. There was no ladder there and it was impossible to fall in. I first thought to jump off of this thing and then use the leaf to go in, but I couldn't jump. So I then tried to lock the camera and walk backwards. That didn't work. And then, you know, my brain started clicking again and I just bombed myself until I fell in. Great, we're inside, and I'm getting touched. I need an adult. I got through to the end and pressed A to open the chest. That is the last Triforce Shard that we find on land, so we have to go to Tingle now. I paid Tingle 398 rupees per chart, which took 4 A presses, and now I can finally set sail and end the search. The first was near Grapefish Isle, the second was near Stonewatcher Island, and the last was on G6. I don't know the name for this place. Now, our journey has finally begun to finish. We can now head to the Tower of the Gods, form the Triforce, feel the courage come inside of me, and go down to Hyrule. The first thing I had to do was fight these 2 Dark Nuts. And bro, I had no health. If I could press A, it would have been so easy. But no. Instead, I spent some time running for my life while 2 dudes were swinging on me. Pause. Did you know that when you die, you have to press A to save and continue? That means every time I died, I turned off my console. Way later, I learned that to beat the 2 Dark Nuts, I just have to go crazy. Slice their garbs from the front, and then somehow get behind them. There's no explanation for this, I just did it. I walked outside, broke the barrier, and entered Ganon's tower. Each door holds a trial to get to and beat an old boss. The first door, for the Dragon Roost Cavern, holds no A presses other than the doors. The second door, for the Forbidden Woods, also holds no A presses other than the doors. The third door, for the Earth Temple, does have A presses. The first puzzle thingy you need to do is get something to hold this button down so you can go up some stairs. Usually, you'd reflect light onto a choo-choo, place it on the button, and then scram to the stairs. In this case, we couldn't do that, and I also wanted something more reliable to hold it down. I found this pod, and because I didn't want to press A to lift it, I pushed it all the way over, and bro, I did it all for nothing. You have to press A and then put it down. There's just no other option. Do this again for the next button and you're good to go. The last door for the Wind Temple only requires you to open the doors. So again, that's another 2. The barrier breaks and I pass a stairway. I open this door, headed to the right and open another door, and then jump down. Immediately this starts a battle against Phantom Ganon, and here there are 6 inescapable A presses until we get to the chest with the light arrows in it. I open the chest, left through the door, and somehow going through that door made me spawn in a magic circle. Here we're meant to deal the finishing blow to Phantom Ganon, and once that's done, we're forced to pick up his sword, but at the very least, instead of pressing A to swing, we can just toss it at the wall. I went through the passageway, and now it was time for the long set of stairs. It was really easy. You can spam B to kill the moblin and just shoot the Dark Nuts with light arrows, which is kind of unfair, but I'll take what I can get. I open the door, And now it is time for the puppet Ganon. There are no A presses here. We can move on to the final fight. Finally, we made it. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get this over with. Ganon may have beat the feces out of me and taken my Triforce piece, but my courage never actually came from the Triforce. It came from within. So now, it's over for him. For the start of the fight, I just walked around and waited for Zelda to shock him. That was my only way to actually get a hit in, since we couldn't press A. Once the King of All Evil decides to knock Zelda into the second realm, I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe Zelda could wake up if I stalled, but nothing happened. So that means we don't get a cool finale. We don't get to skip any A presses for the entire ending. It was all normal, nothing cool, which honestly kinda sucks. I press A to parry him twice, Zelda wakes up, I press A to speak to her, and then she shocks Ganon again, leaving me with the last input of the game. And that last input is the A button, causing the final cutscene to play.
Hey guys, I'd just like to say, I made a big mistake. I pressed the A button to get into the mother and child aisles and to get out. And it turns out that you can use the gamepad screen to teleport all over the map. And the entire game, I cruised and I cruised. You're telling me I could have got this challenge done so much faster if I had just used my brain and touched on the touchpad. And not only that, I also figured out that even without gamepad mode, it's possible to change the wind direction without the use of A. So because of all these mistakes, I thought to myself on whether to fix the video or restart. But you know what? Instead of that, I'll replay the entire game, fix every single mistake that I made, and even try other methods. And with all that being said, here are my mistakes and other things that I did to avoid pressing A. The first one is in the Forsaken Fortress. Instead of backtracking and pressing A to open doors, you can allow yourself to get caught and just push the pot to the side. I avoided this because I thought you had to pick it up, but you don't actually have to. Since we're inside now, you can exit this door by pressing A just once, and then go up the ladder and fight the Bokoblin guy. This fight is extremely controversial in how many A presses it takes, but this is how many it took me exactly. It's probably possible to do it less, but at this point, I do not care. My second mistake was pressing A to roll across this gap in the Roost Island. With some persistence, I was actually able to get it without rolling, meaning it only takes 2 A presses to get up here. My third mistake was actually not my fault. Inside the Roost cavern, there are these wooden logs blocking your path, and what I had done previously was pick up the monster's sword and break the barriers, using up like 3 A presses, and instead of that, I used my massive brain, and I got the enemy to attack me while I was standing in front of the first barrier, and guess what? He broke it for me. After that, there's a high step up to the next one, and it had seemed that the monster wouldn't be able to reach, but guess what? We used persistence once again, and he finally gets up there. And then he broke the barrier for me, and I never had to pick up his weapon. Almost immediately after, I tried out the exact same thing with the next guy, and he did it as well. It took a little bit for him to get the flame, but once he got his stick on fire, it was done. He burned the barrier, and I didn't have to do anything. You know what's actually so funny about all this? I've been saving so many presses, and my count is not as much lower than before. This means that I definitely miscounted, and I'm really glad I have a counter this time. The next mistake I made is pressing A to change the wind direction. I did this 2 times, once in Roost and once in Forest Haven, so that's 2 less. Now once I made it to the Tower of the Gods again, I knew I wanted a different path. Instead of going for all these doors and opening chests for keys, I instead pressed A just twice
to do a glitch. I grabbed the Armo statue and aligned it on the wall. I then backflipped and leaped to hang onto this ledge. I then ZR walked backwards off of it, and the Armo statue pushed me into the wall. I then jumped off, and with the little magic I had left, I glided to the place past the waterfall, and I made it inside via the water that pushed me in. Dude, I just skipped like 5 A presses right there. Soon after, my next mistake was pressing A to sidle on this wall. Now that we can change the wind direction without the A button, this one's free. Now for my next mistake, which is the biggest one, I pressed A to enter the mother and child aisles, when we can just go into handheld mode and tap on the touchscreen. Very annoying. For the Earth Temple, I did a couple things differently that worked out in the end. Firstly, I realized you could perch this ledge and use it to boost you even higher, since Medley's initial jump is higher than, flapping. Because of this, I made it in only 10 A presses instead of 11. Second of all, in the room with the light and the 2 pressure buttons, I somehow managed to get a choo-choo to become solid right on top of it. This way, I once again skipped an A press. For my next change, instead of pressing A 4 times to get Medley up here, and then pressing A twice more, I instead headed back via the doors, and I only pressed A 4 times in total. And the last thing for this temple, while I couldn't do it, I do have to mention it because it's possible. If you were to do the boss key skip, you would save a ton on A presses. It would only take 1 pickup, 1 backflip, and then Medley has to press A like 13 times, but it's still less than before. And then you would just have to pick her up once more. Now finally, we have made it to the last temple. First off, I learned a new trick. Instead of slowly pressing A for him to fly, you can quickly spam A and he will continue to fly. This way, I only had to press A 5 times to get him up this wall, and this saved me many presses in the tree planting rooms. I don't know how many specifically, but we will know in the end. Secondly, the room where I pressed A twice and, thought I was being smart, I made a mistake. Instead of moving this block, I could literally just jump off of it where it normally is. Nice. After this, the last save is one I cannot do, but I am including it because, clearly it's possible. You can skip using Makar for the entire ending by doing this monstrosity, and then a fairly easy barrier skip. The Wind Temple ends with 345 A presses, and no, I am not doing the boss fight. I am so tired of this game. Now that we're all done, I have to calculate how many presses the ending takes, and then add that, and you know what I mean.
Okay, so at the Wind Temple I was at 416, I ended with 491, meaning 491 minus 416, so 75. Then subtract all the A presses for the Cabana side quest, which is 459 minus 445, so 14. And then take away 1 extra for opening the door, so that's 75 minus 15, which is 60.
Meaning the Triforce Shards and Ganon take 60 A presses, meaning it takes 405 A presses to beat the Wind Waker in its entirety. Wow. Finally, we have reached our answer. Dude, this has been such a long journey, bro. It's been a month, and it's been a great one. I really love doing this challenge. I really hope I do another one like this. I guess some things I could say I learned from this journey is definitely, 1, people make mistakes. But another thing I've learned is that persistence is key. And with persistence, most of the limits you put on yourself vanish. And lastly, not everything can go according to plan, that's for sure. Another thing I'd like to say is that in the beginning of this video, I said that there were just 2 rules: beat the Wind Waker and don't press A. 1, we didn't follow that last rule, and 2, I missed another rule. I should have implied that we have to beat every single dungeon and get the heart container, because, there are certain ways to beat the game without doing that. I don't even want to think about that. But if any one of you out there are those speedrunner people, go ahead and take this challenge and just count how many times you press A. Because, I know you don't have to press A that much to, what do you guys do? Go back and forth on the ocean? I don't even want to know. And yeah, now as the end screen, I will be showing you just how many doors, chests, item chests, Triforce piece chests, and you know, whatever it may be classified as, right here on screen, just as the ending. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video, which hopefully won't be as mentally draining as this one was. Goodbye.